My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine. Today's topic is your liquid gold. I've said before, and I'll say again here, that all two-leggeds suffer. The variation under which they suffer may be quite varied, but all two-leggeds have some layer of suffering, some layer of pain, some layer of struggle in this realm. And they also have grace. We have different graces. Some of us are graced with the sense of smell, which gives us a sense to taste our food. Some of us are graced with, um, benevolent opportunities. Some of us are not. But the important thing I have found in life, as somebody who has come from many challenges, I do think, there's a component with karma of you're evolving and you have these karmic circumstances that appear. But from what I understand from an evolutionary standpoint, there is a point at which, for example, the Dalai Lama, Heather Feather has had over 50 deaths in this life. The Dalai Lama had thousands of people that were lost. He was looking at the annihilation of his people. And when I look at somebody that's really evolved, they typically have quite a bit of suffering. So it's not necessarily indicative when you have suffering in your life of you being, a terrible person in the past. Sometimes we are cleaning up karma. And sometimes what we are doing is opting into a life in which we can choose tremendous compassion. And tremendous suffering has the opportunity to engender tremendous compassion. I've had a substantial amount of suffering in this life, and I have an overwhelming amount of compassion and love to share as a result of that suffering. So in that regard, it's been a real grace to me. Sometimes it's hard to remember that. May I remember that more and more and more. What I want to say is that there are these graces. It can be valuable and it can be precious to place one's attention on what your graces are. So I had a tremendous grace, and as I've moved more through life in this place, I've started to recognize there are a lot of people that are not given this grace. So many of you that are listening right now, this may be your circumstance where you were not given parents or stewards or grandparents or foster parents or adoptive parents or whatever that means. You were not given stewards in your rearing that were loving, that were supportive, that were attentive. I was graced with, I know I would, and I think my brother and sister would too, borderline say our mother was like a saint. Now, she would never say that. She was deeply humble, but to me, she's like a saint. She's the best person that ever existed. She's the best person that I'll ever meet. I'd love to meet the Dalai Lama. He's very interesting. He's into quantum mechanics. But even if I met the Dalai Lama, I don't think there's a single human that I will ever meet that is more awesome, interesting, amazing, unbelievable than my mother. And it's because my mother understood that love is the answer. My mother understood that love is what we are. My mother understood that children need love, time, and attention. They don't need your objects. They don't need your, financial security. We often didn't have that. Daddy drowned and was lost in the Brazos River right after I was born. And she often did not have financial security, but she had abundant love, time, and attention to give us. And she provided it abundantly. And so we marvel, my brother, sister, and I, we all marvel at how she was able to lose the love of her life, never have his body be found, and then rear 3 children on her own. She was a stay-at-home mom when that happened, and then she had to get multiple jobs and continue to rear us. And she still had the patience of, Orifael, the angel of patience. She still had tremendous patience because she would lovingly and patiently and attentively listen to us like we were ancient souls. And she would treat children like they were adults because she understood that child is a soul that's had a bunch of journeys and there's tremendous wisdom and they're just stepping back into their wisdom. We have to learn how to operate in this realm. But she had a lot of reverence and respect and compassion for anyone in this world, no matter who they were. She loved humanity and she loved people. She deeply loved children. And she was very loving, very tender, very attentive. So to me, I've had a tremendous amount of trauma and tragedy, a very large number of car accidents, a tremendous number of death, a tremendous number of sexual assault experiences, a tremendous number of betrayal experiences, friends that a tremendous number of people that have been liars and have lacked integrity. And even at 47, it still shocks me. I'm like, really? You choose to be a liar and out of integrity? That's a really interesting choice that you're making. I still marvel at it because a lot of people make that choice. They don't choose to be in integrity with their word. And we are creating our reality with our thoughts, and our words are simply a reflection of our thoughts. So why would I want to be out of integrity with my creation? I don't understand it. But I was given a mother with impeccable integrity and tremendous honesty and tremendous spiritual depth and just just so many nuggets of grace. So for me, my mother was my liquid gold. And she died 1 month before I turned 25. She died in a car accident. So I'm very aware of the liquid gold that I was given. And so one of the things that we can do in this life is treasure and nurture and nourish our liquid gold, whatever that may be. Perhaps it's somebody that's still living for you. So because my mother is not in her flesh costume anymore, the way I honor and give reverence to the liquid gold and the graces I was given in this life is it has been my devotion since I was nearly 25 years old and she exited to hand my mother back to the world. So Heather Feather spends her life with clients and with friends and with family and with individuals and with strangers, really working to be unconditionally loving, attentive, generous listening, present, compassionate, understanding. My highest aim is really to serve divinity, but I feel like she was such a great expression of what that means. And so my highest aim is to serve love and to give love and to invoke more joy and excitation and inspiration in this realm, to do it with myself and with others. And so, what is your liquid gold? What is your liquid gold? And is it something, for some of you, it might be a partner. For some of you, it might be a child. One of the greatest things I ever heard a parent ever say is that they would go every night to their child and say, is there any way I can be a better mother to you? Now, that sounds like something my mother would do. So I think that's really sweet and precious. And it is a way to humbly be willing to put yourself on the altar of receiving feedback so that you might evolve in a given role. I think that's an amazing question to ask a partner. Is there any way I can be a better partner to you? We all have different needs. When we look at the 5 love languages, I have been in relationship with humans where those love languages are very different. I'm an extremely service-themed soul. I've got a lot of 6th house energy in my chart, and I'm very service-oriented. Even my Juno is in Virgo, some of my asteroids. And so I've got this really strong devotional service focus. I've done a tremendous amount of volunteer work in this life and giving back, trying to, what Heather calls, making sure I'm not just sucking air down here. I want to give back because I'm given all these graces. I'm given a sun that warms me and illuminates my day. I'm given food full of nutrients from what the sun does with the earth each day as well. I'm given a place to stand in space. I'm given a body to move around so that I'm not just some corporeal entity, So I'm given all these different graces and I like to serve and give back. And so one of the things I really work to serve is humanity. But it can be precious to recognize I have amazing friends. I have amazing family. And so I've been stewing on this piece of like nurturing the relationships that feed you. They say there are, I just had a dear teacher and friend, her business is Love is Healing, so you can go to Love is Healing. And she is a Reiki master, she's a shaman, she's also a psychotherapist, she can get you therapy, but she also has this spiritual component to go along with the psychological component. But I was talking to her beautiful, magnificent soul that I adore so deeply, and she was teaching me that there is codependency and there's dependency. A codependent person is an overgiver. A dependent person is an overtaker. So I have a long history of being an overgiver because I like to share love. Here you go. Here's more. You want more? There's more. There's more. There's an infinite amount. The universe is abundant. And, part of my work is to receive, is to be willing to receive, to get into balance. But so there's this piece of like, are you a giver or a taker? Well, if you have a romantic relationship, if you have a familial relationship, if you have a friendly relationship that feeds you, that is your liquid gold, she is one of the sources of liquid gold in my life. I'm so honored to know her. It behooves one to place one's attention on that which really lights you up, that which makes your life a life worth living. So one of the considerations for me is, how can I serve her more? How can I serve my sister more? How can I serve my brother more? And I gotta say, that seems like it'd be a really natural and easy thing for somebody that wants to share love with the world so much. However, Heather Feather has a tendency to get really Aquarian-esque. I have an Aquarius midheaven, and really distracted in making sure I'm sharing love with everyone in the world. Am I being intimate and eye contact connected to the cashier? Or am I kind of like floaty and ethereal? Am I in my body and present with this entity? Because to me, it's all divinity. All I have all day long are appointments with divinity. That's all I'm doing. The divine, the divine, the divine, the divine. It's like, well, that's an interesting way the divine's acting over there. But because all I ever have is an appointment with divinity, and some of those appointments are divinity asking me, do you remember your divinity in now? Can you remain compassionate? Can you express love? Can you honor yourself and walk away? So I'm constantly looking at all these divine appointments, and I can get mired in extending in each moment of now, whoever's showing up, I can get mired in keeping those divine appointments. Let me honor my friend and coworker and support her. Let me honor my, and so whatever's in front of me tends to garner a lot of attention. And I have to remember, oh yeah, am I giving back to that which feeds and nourishes me? Have I given that some attention? I got to tell you, in the past year, I have not. I'm working a full-time job, learning tremendous ancient Ayurvedic medicine, and I'm also working rare bird medicine in my spare time. And, I'm retiring in 3 years and will just devote my time and attention to rare bird medicine. And it means that my attention is often taken. So I have to remember to go back and figure out, how can I give back to, how can I honor, how can I be gracious and reverent towards that which makes my life worth living? My 2 kitty cats, Ashtar, commander of the Galactic Federation of Light, and his sister Salusa of the Galactic Federation of the Light, they make my life worth living. So they get fresh, raw tuna every night of their lives, or some type of, I give them a treat every night. They have the freedom in my life to come and go in and out of doors as they like, because I have that freedom. And so we can get into whether that serves or not. I don't want to digress on that point, but they nurture me. If I'm sad and I'm crying, Ashtar comes and puts his little paw in my hand. It lights me up, and it reminds me that there are many graces here. So how can I give back to him? How can I give him chin pets and tell him how luxurious his fur is and how shiny their eyes are? And, how can I give back to them? How can I give back to that which nourishes me and nurtures me? Can I volunteer for an organization that has served me? So I'm asking you today, what is your liquid gold? The first question is, what is your liquid gold? What is it in your life that makes your life precious? For some of us, it wasn't that at-home paradigm. For some of us, the bonds of family are often not one of blood. So we might find our family in our friends, or we might find our family in a partnership, or we might find our family outside of the family we were reared in because that was more toxic. Okay, but what is it that really feeds you and lights you up? And can you give back to that this day? Because the more we put our attention on our grace, the more the universe has the opportunity to reflect that back to us in this place. It is quantum waves of probability. And the observer, based on the double slit experiment, is telling that quantum wave of probability what particle to be. So when we put our attention on grace, there's more grace to see. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Amun.